Welcome back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons, founder of Unlock the Magic Coaching, Healing, and Magic School. I'm joined today with Trishia Domingo. Trishia is a confidence coach, award-winning model, and multidisciplinary leader. She recently earned the first place title of the Face of CBMA, along with Best Stage Presence, distinguishing her as a standout in both performance and presence. Beyond the fashion industry, Trishia brings 9 years of experience in healthcare technology, blending strategic insight with creative leadership. She is a co-founder of Eldest Daughters Collective, a model coach with Dream Photo House, and a community builder with Filipina on the Rise, where she uplifts and empowers women to take up space in the world with confidence and poise. Trishia, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy.
Thanks for being here. What's a confidence coach?
A confidence coach. So, really, I am a life coach, but the biggest piece of feedback that I get from people, whether they have known me for a long time or not, is that I just give off this sense of confidence. And I always strive to help other people, especially other women, just feel very at home within themselves, their mind, their body, and their spirit. So I really just help other people see the brilliance inside of them, just like I can see that.
Love that. That's what I call someone's magic. And
Yeah.
when someone asked, when my attorney asked me what I wanted to call my business, I settled on Unlock the Magic because I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to unlock the magic in people that's always been there and that has been
Yes.
conditioned or trained out or not supported, whatever that looks like. And ultimately, helping someone remember that they are a soul having a human experience, not the other way around. So we come here on this plane limitless, literally limitless. And then obviously the human experience sets limits. And the magic is when you can understand both and use your own discernment and free will to move forward in what feels good to authentically you. And that's not
Yes.
always easy or accessible because of the environments that we're in. And that's part of the work, which is really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that you said that. And I've been thinking a lot about how exactly like as we are young, and I think there's a lot of studies about women when they're younger, and everybody talks about how fierce and sassy and feisty we are. And, she wants to take over the world, but then something happens during like teenage years or even afterwards where, there's a lot of conditioning that is done
Mm.
and a lot of like trying to fit into a certain mold that happens and that chips away from somebody's confidence and their ability to trust in themselves. And that really impacts so many things in our lives.
As an energy coach, it happens like it even happens in utero before we even physically get here. We
Yeah.
download everything from mom, great grandma, grandma, like the entire lineage. We download that.
Mm.
And I find that I'm an elder millennial. I find that millennials especially are breaking out of that because they're like, okay, I get what I was taught, but I don't want that anymore. And
Yeah.
I don't feel that X and Boomer necessarily had the space to actually allow themselves to question that. I think
Mhm.
millennials like started the big revamp and Z's coming in with no fucks given.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. So it starts in utero and then yeah, you're right. Like we're allowed to be sassy or fierce, but also that's when people start calling us that when we're maybe 3, 4, 5, our body's listening and our cells are starting to change whether we realize it or not. So we're starting to infer or glean that being sassy or fierce is bad. And then we enter mainstream school, which it's even more tamped down because you're branded a troublemaker or too much or something like that. So it happens pretty much the moment we get here, or if not, like right before. So it's interesting. We've still got a lot of work to do with how we treat especially young girls and what we say around them. I will hear people say to babies, like baby girls, like, look how chubby she is, look how chunky she is. Careful. Careful there. She's listening, like her whole body is listening. And whether you think she's just a baby, no, that's landing somewhere in her. So
Yeah. Unconsciously.
be very mindful about what you say to babies, just to be like, oh, look how healthy she is. Look how beautiful she is. Look how perfect she is. Whatever it is, just be mindful.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went on
And I think
a little rant there.
no, I will tie it also to you mentioning, because I think a lot of this conditioning definitely stems from the boomers and imprinting this on us. And I love that a lot of millennial women are really deconditioning or decentering that kind of thinking. And I love being able to see that more millennial women and also more Gen Z women are trying to get out of that mindset and understand that there's other ways of being. I'm very grateful to see that happening and to know that there's so many more spaces, especially with the social media scape, as chaotic as it can be and it is. It can still bring people together.
And I don't fault X and Boomer. It's like they did the best they can in
Yeah.
what they were taught. I'm sure they felt they were way more liberal than the two generations above them or before them. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody feels some type of way about the gap between what they were taught and what they want to do. I think the difference now is that we're getting pretty unapologetic about like, no, I genuinely don't want that for myself. And we're giving each other the space to say, no, thank you. Whereas
Yeah.
I don't know that X and boomers were even given that space. I mean, I could probably say for sure they weren't given that space to say, do you like this? Like nobody cared whether they liked it or not.
Yeah.
And now it's just shifting. And there's a lot of work to be done intergenerationally to make room for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think that, I mean, once again, I'll bring up like the social media scape space and how I love that there's so many more avenues where we can connect intergenerationally. There's so many more conversations that are being put together and just more discourse. And I feel like that's healthy. Yeah, I love that there's just more spaces that are coming up and more conversations are able to be had. And we're actually, like you said, giving each other the space to think outside of what we would normally think or the way that we've conditioned and actually given ourselves a permission slip to even permit that for ourselves. And that's huge. And as somebody who definitely grew up in a space where it felt a little bit more like a dictatorship and it was like, oh, just be seen, but don't be heard from, or don't try to like rock the boat and never talk about like what's actually happening or what is a problem. And especially don't talk about it outside of the house. There's so many more spaces where not only women are coming together, but men and women also are having more conversations and being able to try to get to the same page or meet each other halfway.
I call it the new human energy because,
Yeah.
it was so interesting. The beginning of my journey, my spiritual journey or my returning to self, my remembering began probably around 8 years ago, but like really diligently, like no choice 3 years ago, like hardcore. But one of the things that I didn't vibe with right away was this notion of divine feminine, divine masculine, because I still felt like we were putting people into these descriptions or boxes or this or that. And I don't vibe with
Mhm.
this or that. It's like the new human energy, I feel, is a balance between the patriarchy and matriarchy, between humans to create the balance for all existence, like period. So, how do you feel about those energies?
I don't think I have like a fully fleshed out opinion on it, but I,
Mm,
I I definitely agree with you on trying to get to more of a balance. I don't think that
mm.
it is super healthy to go one way or the other, but just trying to meet each other halfway. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like as humans, we are wired for connection, and it is strange to think that one or the other is better when there's more than one or two options that are out there, and it doesn't make sense in my brain. But I personally also just would rather work with people instead of trying to beat my head up against resistance all the time as well.
I just feel because I talk about energy a lot and I will name it feminine or masculine, and that has nothing to do with gender. But that's again what I feel that mainstream connects it to when we talk about those energies. For instance, I identify as a woman and I have a ton of masculine energy in my birth chart and a lot from my upbringing and things like that. So it's energy. It's just energy. Yes, there are qualities that innately are leaned more toward feminine or masculine energy. Again, I want to get into the new human. So, the new human energy, you can be both, let's say, yin and yang, like not just one or the other. Like that's where I'm trying to blend. Anyway, I'll get off this tangent.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that when we first met, I've always felt like an eldest daughter. So, tell us about what the Eldest Daughters Collective is and what kind of vibration or frequency are the eldest daughters? Like, what is the collective constructed of, and how do y'all connect with each other? Again, I feel like an eldest daughter. I'm not an eldest daughter in the Gregorian, the old school,
Yeah.
the old paradigm way, but
Yeah.
energetically, I am.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll partially answer your question with another question, of course, just to get more clarification. You say that you're not the eldest daughter. Can you remind me again? Are you like the middle child, but still like an eldest, or do you have eldest siblings or
Yeah, I'm the youngest, but I've
mm,
always been emotionally responsible
mm,
for the women in my household.
okay.
Yeah,
And
so it's hard,
they're
including my mom. So
okay, so it's your mom, and then how many sisters do you have? One or
older
two?
sister, one.
Older
Yeah.
sister. Okay. Yeah, I love that. And part of the reason why I asked that is because Eldest Daughters Collective works with eldest and only daughters or daughters who have been parentified, which is your case. And so we are a racial healing justice organization. And our vision is to help other eldest daughters just feel more seen and to actually know that they are entering a space where they don't have to wear any masks. They don't have to feel like
Be in
everything is
charge.
their responsibility. Yes, they don't. They can just be, they can just exist and be amongst like minded people and understand that anything and everything that they share, others likely have experienced as well. Just like, for example, the parentification or having a lot of responsibilities that you see are not placed on your siblings or even your own parents, or you look around and you see maybe somebody who is an only child, or even other eldest sons who don't have the same kind of responsibility and different tasks that are given to them by parents and also a little bit by society. So there's a lot of hypervigilance that we see, a lot of hyper independence, and almost like this restlessness feeling. And at least part of my mission is to help other eldest daughters to slow down and to live more in the moment and understand that you don't have to do it all by yourself. There's so much more support that is actually available to us. And, to be able to live outside of your mind and be more into your body is actually how you end up being successful in the long term and how that cultivates this holistic, healthy lifestyle.
It's really interesting because I don't actually feel I was given more responsibility. Mine specifically was an emotional, I bared the emotional load of the family,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which was never recognized. It was interesting. Like it was never able to be seen. There was this narrative that I was the youngest and got away with everything. And I'm like, I never understood where that was coming from because it wasn't necessarily true, but it was more about I was responsible for being the one that made sure everybody was okay
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, like whether I was the comic relief, whether I was the one that would double back with somebody that was hurt or crying or upset. No one
Mm-hmm.
else did it. It was me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's I guess that's a little different than what,
No, that's also included because it's
yeah.
it's it is still like yes, there was no physical responsibility, but the emotional load is
Mm.
still a massive responsibility.
And as a young child, the thing that I've always said is like my entire life, I've just wanted an older woman or another woman to like take me into their arms and tell me it's going to be everything's going to be okay. That's just not
Yeah.
something. I was the one always providing that. And in some cases I still am. And it's just
Yeah.
wanting to be held, I think,
Yes.
emotionally and
Yes.
otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally understand, and I
Mhm.
hear you wholeheartedly. I think that when I was going through some of the toughest phases, like I think as eldest daughters, or if you're somebody who has that kind of experience where you've been holding on to so much, it can be extremely difficult to even feel like you can take some things down or take some things off of your back to let go of some of that weight. And unless you personally like know and recognize these things in yourself and can put them down, sometimes it does take somebody else to like truly see what's happening within you and say like it's okay. And Eldest Daughters Collective is definitely one of those spaces that we're trying to cultivate, that space where you can just be, you can actually feel like you're being seen and being held and able to show up in no matter what space and mindset or whatever you're in, as long as you're respectful, of course. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is truly a space where you can feel like a sigh of relief, or you can feel
Yeah.
like it's a soft landing.
Soft
And
landing. Yeah.
we're seeing that a lot of women don't necessarily have that. especially if
General. Oh
you're
my
a high
gosh.
achieving woman. So,
Ooh. Yeah, shout out human design threes. Woo. And that's just it. I was joking out on LinkedIn the other day. I was like, I don't feel that any of us are ever suggesting that in a partnered household, if it's a man and a woman, that the man does nothing ever.
mhm,
I feel that it's a lot of, again, a lot of upbringing and what women are just taught to do. It's a fact that women bear all the emotional load of a household. Again, whatever that looks like. And I was like, what if we all did an expense report? What if every partner of a household that feels they bear the emotional load, it could be man as well, could be human, whomever. What if the humans of a household that feel that they bear the emotional load were to track their expenses of said emotional load? What could or would that look like? And I think it's amazing that we're still kind of here. And it's this crossroads also where women are being ousted from the workplace left and right every day. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we heading toward? Like, what's going on? What's happening? And so,
yeah.
so much of what I, so much of my life's work is helping someone find their own truth center. So
Mhm,
in some cases, what that looks like is the layoff was a gift. Now,
mhm.
y'all, I am not saying that's easy. When I say it's a gift, more than one thing can be true at once. You might not be able to see it's a gift that day, but I've talked to like just countless people. They got laid off and they were like, you know what? I breathed a sigh of relief the moment it came through because they were just waiting for the shoe to drop. They're like, okay. And now it's like almost having the ability to move on. And I always try to encourage people, okay, you can wait for someone to make that call for you, or you can do it for yourself. I get there's all kinds of money and responsibilities and things. There's just a lot on humanity at this moment. There's a fever pitch happening, and I'm gonna talk about a post you made on LinkedIn that I brought up here that I would want to talk about more in a little bit. But something you also touched on for Eldest Daughters Collective that I wanted to ask what your definition of is. What do you describe as racial healing, and what do these eldest daughters come in with to receive racial healing?
We noticed that the a lot of the responsibilities that the members of our collective were experiencing were a little bit different from, let's say, their white eldest daughter counterparts. This would come in conversations that we would see, just social mediascape, all of our collective life experiences. For example, especially if you're somebody who is either an immigrant or your parents are immigrants, one thing that you likely aren't going to experience if you are a white eldest daughter is having to help your parents with phone calls or trying to set up doctor's appointments or trying to set up parent teacher conferences. There's a lot of logistical things and responsibilities that really kind of rob you of your childhood or certain aspects of it. And it really also compounds on that feeling of being over responsible and feeling like you have to do certain things. It almost feels like you're constantly trying to be on this hamster wheel, like waiting for the next thing to happen or the next person that kind of needs you to help them with something.
So what's coming up for you? What are you excited about? What moves are you excited to be making, whether it's in your confidence coaching, your model house, the eldest daughters, what's coming up for you?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot that's happening. So, first of all, we just opened up our new membership model, our paid membership model for Eldest Daughters Collective. Well, since we started in 2023, all of our monthly member meetings have been free. And after a couple of years now, we decided to open up our membership model. And I'm super excited to be working on that. And I'm really excited about Shutterfest. Actually, I was chosen to be one of the official models for that. That's one of the largest photography conferences in the country. It happens every year in Union Station Hotel in St. Louis, and it's so beautiful. Yeah, there's always a lot of things that are kind of like brewing in the background, but those are some things. And I'm also thinking about starting a YouTube channel so I can start getting into more long form conversations about just coaching and mindset and all of the other plethora of things that I have my hands in.
I want to go to that post that you made on LinkedIn that really landed with me, which is
Yes.
find calm in just 5 minutes a day. Tell me more
Mhm.
about this, and I'd love to have some conversation around what this means for you and how
Mhm.
you help teach this.
I often find myself feeling like a little bit chaotic. I think it has to do partially because of my ADHD. So it kind of just makes me more like a sponge when it comes to energies and environments and feelings. And I'm sure it did not help being an eldest daughter and kind of feeling like everything is your responsibility, or you have to fix it or it won't be okay. So I took up meditating, and I think having little moments where you can stop and center yourself are so useful. Like, we're not always going to have an hour or 2 hours or whatever. Most of us are super busy. We lead very fast paced lives. So it's really important for me and to be able to also teach other people that sometimes all it takes is 5 minutes to step away to just focus on your breathing. Or if you don't even have that, you can do like a tactical pause, and basically you just take a moment and you stop, you take a deep inhalation and an exhalation, and then you just get really focused on whatever is in front of you. And what often happens, especially if you are somebody who's very hyperactive in your mind, is that sometimes you can just get very stuck there, and you can get caught in like a spiral, you can get caught in a loop, and it can be difficult to get out of that. And I I love being able to help people get out of that trance. And I find that the best way to do that outside of movement practice is also breath work.
So the reason this caught my eye is because in this moment, and we've been, depending on where you are in the world and what your circumstances are, there's a lot, a
Mhm.
lot, a lot, a lot. And coming back, I feel that all of humanity right now, the ask of us is to not get so caught up with everything outside of us. Easier said than done, but also by any degree each day that you can turn back inward and find safety, stability, and peace within yourself. And if you would have said this to me probably like even 5 years ago, I'd have been like, what are you, like, what the actual fuck are you talking about? Because it just sounds like gobbledygook. It's like, yeah, 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 nice to have. Because
Yeah.
I was on autopilot, corporate mode, all that. I get
Mhm.
it, y'all. But here's why it matters. You are never going to feel okay ever in life if you're only depending on everything outside of you to be in a certain set of parameters that you feel safe and okay and stable with. The ask is to figure out where inside you, and is it your heart? Is it your gut? Where inside of you do you trust yourself to always be able to, let's say, land on your feet? If there's something in you, that's more of what will serve you, and finding that, I call it finding your okayness, finding any degree of okayness every single day. May everyone be able to find their own degree of okayness. And it is a balance of placing your physical body somewhere that does feel safe and okay. Sure, yes. And also, to your point, like closing your eyes and grounding into your own energy to see what does feel okay, what does feel safe.
Mhm.
We all have the ability to do that. It just is how much we're able to access it based on, again, how much from the outside we're letting dictate our inside.
Yeah, I love that you talked about just how, and it's interesting. I think that so often we see people are conditioned to think that external things will keep them, like you said, happy, safe, secure, whatever. And what I found in my own life experience and with coaching as well is that when we are able to insource our own peace and our own okayness, that is what ends up empowering us to keep going on in the future and also help empower others to get to that place. So we're not all of a sudden or all the time being pulled back into the sunken place or it's not doom and gloom all the time. I think it's really important to be able to. And it's also funny because the work is extremely important, but it's also difficult. And that's part of
Yeah.
why a lot of people are hesitant or fearful of stepping into their own inner world. I've definitely heard a lot of people say, like, for example, like, oh, I don't think that I can, think about that memory or of something that happened in my childhood or whatever. And yeah, I don't think I can go there. I'm afraid that if I don't, or if I do go there, I will just cry and cry and cry and I'll never stop. Or like I'll end up throwing up. But
That's
what
that's
is interesting is that oftentimes what happens is, and one of the things that I like to do also in coaching is to say, it's okay if you one, whether you want to access that particular memory or not. Yes, it will be helpful to you, but if we're taking you outside of your window of tolerance in this moment, that's not going to be helpful. If you are willing to go there, that's amazing. And I'm willing to help you and, hold this space for you and to just let you be seen and process whatever you're going through. That actually ends up helping to empower somebody. And then what often happens also is whether somebody cries or throws up or whether they have that experience, it's just that ability to be seen and accepted and just having that space held for them. For example, if you have one friend that you go to for a problem that's constantly like, immediately trying to fix what your issue is, but they don't know the full context versus the person that just says, oh, I'm sorry that you're going through that. Let me just be here for you and sit in presence. Most of the time, that's just what people need. And we think oftentimes that, oh, I'll be happy or I'll feel safe when I get the job, when I find the partner, when I have the house, whatever. But it's really like, how do I feel inside my body during this moment? And how can I continue to keep that okayness and level of certainty and safety inside of myself as I continue to move throughout life.
mm. The work is really hard. And I often find the biggest conflict that someone's grappling with is they will state what they want, which is, I want peace. And then in the same breath, they also say, and I'm not willing to revisit that thing that makes me sad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you pushing against and not being willing to go there is actually the very thing that's keeping you from being at peace. So it
Mm-hmm.
gets to be, again, I get it. It's hard. And that's where, yeah, you build trust and rapport with someone that can help you go there on your own timing. Because, yeah, I'm always reading energy. That's the way I coach. I'm clairsentient and claircognizant. So I'm always understanding where you're wanting to go, like at a soul level. And then your
Mm-hmm.
ego will say something else. And so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're not there yet. Yeah, I get it. Like, we're not there yet. So I will start to pull on strings
Mm-hmm.
that feel closer and are bridging the gap between ego and soul so that
Yeah.
quote unquote suddenly we get to that soul place. And it is often tears, screaming, throwing up because that energy is asking to be moved.
Yes.
That energy that when you feel, let's say, when you're suppressing a childhood memory, and y'all, I get it. Believe me, I have millions of them that I was ignoring for 40 years. I was unwilling to access them, and I wasn't okay. That's the very energy that is gnawing at you, that's creating a lump in your throat, that's creating a stomach ache, that's creating different physical manifestations because you are hurting on an emotional level and you're also unwilling to revisit it. So it just stays stuck. And for me, it really manifested in sciatica and really, really painful physical manifestations until I chose to be ready to move it. That's the work, though. And it's so worth it because it wouldn't be coming up in you unless it were ready to be healed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to be able to sit with that version of yourself. For me, it was this tiny little Amy that I would just bring into my heart space and just hold. And it hurt. And it was actually what she needed and what I needed. And I do that with every version of myself that comes in. I'm like, ooh, hey, queen, welcome. Okay, we're hanging out with you today. Got it. I know exactly who's coming in and why. That's where you get to be able to not suppress any energy whatsoever. Because I hear you, there's a respect factor of understanding how much you have capacity for. Yes, always. Free will. Absolutely. And our brain is meant to keep us safe. So they're going to be like, don't you dare go there. Mm-mm, don't do
Yeah.
it. Well, it's going to come up faster and louder and harder
Yeah.
until you actually deal with it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so Trisha, in that vein, what would you say to people that will shout from the rooftops that they just want to be happy, feel joy, feel peace, but are unwilling to go there, to like actually excavate what's keeping them from that?
I would definitely ask them if they truly believe that what they say they want is actually what they want. Because when I hear them say that and then the behavior tells me something else, I'm like, okay, so what is the actual deeper desire here? And do you even feel like you're at a point where you are aware of this? And if you aren't, that's okay. And, we can work on trying to get you to that level of awareness. I would also ask how effective that kind of method has worked for them in the past and just ask if they would be willing to experiment or say, so this is what you've tried and this is an idea that I have. Maybe it doesn't fit everything that you want, but are you willing to experiment? Or how can we get you moving the needle further, but also not make this so difficult for you?
Yeah, I think that that's amazing and I totally agree with you. It's like I hear you saying one thing, but I feel something else based on what else you're sharing. And I also find something that's interesting where I'll ask, what do you feel that you deserve in life?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and interestingly, it comes out later, they're not sure that they do deserve peace
Yeah.
because they feel guilt for something that happened in their life at some point. It's like, it's so interesting. It's like, so that belief that you don't deserve it is in your body, in your energy field. So we need to figure out if you want, like if you're ready, we need to figure out which version of you and what was the earliest memory that you have that you didn't deserve peace. We need to go
Mm-hmm.
visit that
Yeah.
and find the origin.
Yeah. And also, like, piggybacking off of that, too, you can definitely say, like, okay, if you say that, you want peace, but you don't necessarily feel like you deserve that, and you are accessing that earliest memory of yourself where you felt that way, I get really curious and I ask, when you hear this or when this particular story plays out in your mind, is it actually you that is maybe saying this, or was it somebody around you that said that, or was it something that you just absorbed? And
Right.
that really helps narrow down the specifics of, okay, how can I help this person just get
Yeah.
over this hump and know that that may have been something that you experienced in the past, but it is also, you're a different person now. And now we have the power and you have the support because I'm here helping you. Now you
Yeah.
have the support to take a look and say, okay, that may have helped me, or this particular defense mechanism may have helped me in the past, but it's no longer helpful. And if I want to actually reach for my dreams and to know that I am deserving of the world and everything that it has to offer, then this is what I need to do. And that's always like a beautiful way to bridge that gap for people.
I think it's amazing how many grown ass adults are still, they still feel like their parents are in charge.
Mhm.
I'll
Yeah.
always challenge that. I'm like, wait, who said? They're like, well, my parents. I'm like, yo, you are grown.
Yeah.
You don't pause to think that it's like, wait, do I have to follow my parents' rules? No. Like, or like, when does
Yeah.
that shift? But it's also, I don't think a lot of people realize how much influence they really do have from their upbringing. And that's where it gets hard too, because I find a lot of people getting into this, yeah, but I love my parents.
Hmm.
Just because you share something that doesn't serve you or that you agree with that your parents taught you does not mean you don't love them. It can be, again, both. So
Yeah.
may
And there's
anyone
so
have,
many times where you love people, but you're in conflict with them. And it's just like, oh,
yeah,
it could be a difference of opinion. Yeah, it's very complex.
like I challenge my 6-year-old father. He'll say something, and grandmother, rest her soul, she's been gone for she hasn't been physically in this world for a long time. And he'll say something. I'm like, where'd you learn that? He's like, well, grandma. I was like, right. Do you have to keep doing that way though?
Yeah.
He was like, oh my gosh, like it just you
Or
just
like,
forget.
is that true? Is
Is
that
that
still true
true?
for you now?
Is that still true? Like when someone will say like, I have to do this. Is that
Mhm.
true?
Oh, oh, yeah.
Right? Right?
I do that to myself all the time, where it's just getting out of that mindset of like, oh, I have to do this.
Who
And
said why?
yeah. Or
And
like, why did I put this particular deadline on
yeah,
myself out of
like
nowhere?
so it's just having the audacity to, and it's not being contrary. And you're not being combative, all this. You get to pause and say, especially your thoughts and your words and your beliefs are literal spells in your life. Like that's what you're creating. So
Mhm.
if your thoughts, words, and beliefs do not match up with what you're actually desiring, then there's a disconnect. And you get to ask, is that still true for me? You're absolutely right. Trisha, this has been a beautiful hour. Where can we find you and support your work?
You can find me. I'm mainly on Instagram as A Taste of Trisha, and my name is spelled Trishia. I am going to be coming out with a YouTube channel, hopefully in the next weeks. You can also find me on my website. My coaching website is thrivewithtrisha.com and LinkedIn.
Closing remarks as we wrap up.
I mean, I hope that any part of this conversation has just helped any other eldest daughters, or if you're somebody who loves an eldest daughter yourself, just feel a little bit more at home and a little bit more understanding and compassionate with other humans as we're all going through something. And at the end of the day, I choose to believe that we're all here to connect and help each other. And that's the way that I want to live my life. That's the way that I help empower so many of my clients to live theirs as well. And I'm just very thankful to be your guest for today.
Thanks so much, Trisha.
You're welcome.